Om Shanti, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to another Yoga Small Talk, and we continue with 7 minutes Bhagavad Gita a day. We are reading from chapter 6, the Yoga of Meditation, and we have reached verse 18. When the perfectly controlled mind rests in the self only, free from longing for all the objects of desires, then it is said he is united. So we saw in verses 16 and 17 the prescribed practice of moderation, and Swami Shivananda told us in the commentary that a yogi should live a very regulated and disciplined life. So when this happens, only then will you attain to success in yoga, which will kill all sorts of pains and sorrows of this life. How does it kill pains and sorrows? It frees the mind from them. The mind becomes steady and meditative, and as described in verse 18, can rest on the Supreme. So let us see the commentary. Perfectly controlled mind, the mind with one-pointedness. So this is the process that takes us to the Supreme. We have to concentrate, and then one-pointedness is the ability to meditate on one thing. This takes us to Samadhi, and from there we get the knowledge. When all desires for the objects of pleasure, seen or unseen, die, the mind becomes very peaceful and rests steadily in the Supreme Self within. So objects of pleasure, seen, is the objects that we see in this world, that we can perceive with our senses. Unseen will usually refer in this context to heaven. So meaning things that we cannot really see with our senses or even fully perceive with our mind at this time, but we are longing for them. So, for instance, reaching heaven. As the yogi is perfectly harmonized, as he has attained to oneness with the self, and as he has become identical with Brahman, so the yogi is established in the ultimate truth through the practice of meditation. Remember, we are in the chapter of the yoga of meditation. So here yoga is the yoga of meditation. So the yogi is the person who is able to practice samadhi, superconscious state. So for such person, sense phenomena and bodily afflictions do not disturb him. He is conscious of his immortal, imperishable, and invincible nature. So once we really know what we are, our true essential nature, which is existence, knowledge, and bliss, other things do not afflict us anymore. And the word used here for yoga, for the yogi, is yukta. Swami Shivananda explains to us, yukta means united with the self. Self, capital S, is the Supreme Self. Or harmonized or balanced. Without union with the self, neither harmony nor balance nor samadhi is possible. So we are reminded here, and this is again and again and again. Yeah? We've been hearing it since chapter 2. If you want to reach this happiness, if you want to experience your true essential nature, then you have to be able to practice yoga. In this context, you have to be able to reach samadhi. And samadhi is the fruit of the practice, which was mentioned earlier on in this chapter. So we heard how to sit, how to prepare the sit, where to gaze, how to gaze, regulating the breath, practicing moderation, meaning what our lifestyle should be. All this preparatory work we should do in order to be able to practice samadhi. Why are we practicing samadhi? To reach self-realization. This is the only reason. And we can add here that while discussing the topic of Raja Yoga, of course, Hatha Yoga is considered a very, very good preparation for the practice of Raja Yoga. Now, although it is not specifically mentioned here, we do hear about the steady posture, being able to sit erect but not tense in one steady posture. So it means that the body should be able to do that. And this we get through preparing the body, through the practice of Hatha Yoga. So it's very, very important. But then again, it does not conflict the other instructions. For instance, Swami Shivananda says, even if you are practicing what is called the cultural postures, meaning the sequences that are more commonly taught, the headstand, the shoulder stand, the bends, all this. So for some it's considered physical exercise, and yes, we are exercising the body. But Swami Shivananda says this should not come at the expense of other physical activities. So we do our asanas, and we also do some other physical activity. Very important not to do them together. So to keep some time, at least 2 hours, between asanas and recreation, and not to give up asanas. It's also very important because, again, the purpose is not to get the body fit. It's to get the body fit for meditation. And there is a big, big difference here. So we are doing the asanas to purify the body and to prepare it for long and steady sittings, both physically and on the level of the prana, on the energetic level. And then we do the other practices to support. So this is the message here. And next is a very, very beautiful description of what the experience of the yogi who was described here in verse 18 is like. So please join us for the next teaching. Om Shanti.